What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Right Side. Today, I'm excited to introduce the channel's first interview. In this video, I had the privilege of speaking with Carmen Zampaglione about his political history, political efforts, local politics, and more. Before we get into the video, subscribe and ring the bell if you want to support and help the channel grow. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. With that out of the way, let's get into the conversation. All right, Carmen, why don't you introduce yourself for the audience a little bit?
Yes, I'm Carmen Zampaglione. I am the GOP chair for Gibbstown, New Jersey, which is a small town in South Jersey, better known as Greenwich Township as our official name, but we call ourselves Gibbstown.
Cool, cool. Can you give a little bit of your political backstory and how you got to where you are?
Okay, I jumped in 2016. I was approached by then Mayor George Shivery. We had prior to that had many political discussions, of course, just sitting around having a couple beers and discussing
Mm-hmm.
different scenarios that were going on in town. And he had said to me, "Well, you should get more involved, and maybe you might want to consider running for city council, town council in Greenwich Township." So I gave it some thought, and I thought about it for a good while. And then when the time came, he said, "Look, either you're in or you're out." And I said, "Well, I'm in." So, and that pretty much, I went into this completely uneducated to how the process from soup to nuts worked. It was very, very interesting how people don't realize what a candidate slash a committee person or any elected
Oh,
official
yeah.
put into their work to represent their constituents from their town,
Right.
county, state, or so on and so forth. But yeah, I started in 2016. I ran for city council. I ran with the Teresa Radcliffe, and we got close. We got within 150 votes that year. To both of us lost. We were like one vote apart, 151 to 150. She
Mm-hmm.
actually did get 151, my running mate,
Mm-hmm.
and she's also my fiance now. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then of course years went by again, and we ran again. So I've had my name on the ballot in Greenwich Township now, twice for mayor,
Okay.
and twice for city council.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, it was an education from the beginning till the end. But the most important thing is you really get in touch with your town and the people, and you listen. And that's, I guess that's what we do as anybody that wants to put, at least that's what I do. I've listened to the people, and we had issues with, our flooding, high flood insurance. That was just part of it. There was people that were questioning the condition of the water tower as of
Mm.
recently. In 16, we didn't really have much talk about the water tower and whatnot, and the
Right.
condition of the streets and whatnot, but so on and so forth. But yeah, I've been on the ballot 4 times in Greenwich Township.
Nice. And you're obviously a force or a recognizable name in terms of Greenwich Township local politics. A lot of people know your name. Why do you think can you kind of go into what you think is your theory behind why local politics is so important and how a little bit of that, your philosophy?
Of course. So my philosophy behind, and we haven't achieved it yet at the county level, nor at the township level, because the way the process works is each town is split up in districts. We have 6 districts in Gibbstown. Each district is represented by a man and a woman.
Mm,
Therefore, you have equal parts. So those district representatives at that time now come together with all the other towns in the county, and they elect a chair for the county. Well, for years, the Republican Party, now I speak for the Republicans, I don't speak for the Democrats, from what I've seen, we did not fill most of our seats as far as district representatives. Now, for example, a town like Washington Township, they have over 40 some seats times two. You're talking, it might be right around 84 if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me. I'm just giving you a quote on that
I'm not gonna
number.
pull a gotcha on you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, what the point I'm getting at is the way the process was designed is flawless because what it does is it allows the people of each town to get involved in order to elect the county representatives,
Mm,
and then each county represents the state representative that covers and then governs into the federal government.
hmm
But the Republican Party, look, we've been 4 decades with the Democrats running strong in throughout the state of New Jersey, and pretty much we've been dealing with the crumbs that they gave us, if for lack of better words. But we're slowly building our party. I have confidence now. We had a couple hiccups. We didn't quite know how to handle as a group, and I speak from what I see.
hmm
As a group in the county level, we didn't quite know how to handle a primary with two popular candidates running against each other,
Okay.
and it caused somewhat of a division.
hmm
But you know what? The education is what we needed the most. And I tell you right now, as we stand as Gloucester County, I speak for Gloucester County has now found its own, and we are now a rejuvenated party. We've all come together. We've come to terms with our differences, and we realize how we can achieve the next level, and that's to get Republicans elected, not so much to overpower, but to have a voice enough to where the
Right.
people on the conservative side of the
Balance.
ticket. Yes, balance is key, and that's my philosophy. Hopefully, I wasn't too long in the tooth with that, but
Don't don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're very insightful. So can you kind of go into why why you believe in state politics so much, local politics, kind of going into the importance of that because you've obviously been, scraping your teeth with local politics and then you had a bill go up or you had a bill designed to affect statewide. And so if you can kind of go into why are such an ardent believer and, attacking local first.
well, like I said to you, it was all new to me getting in 2016. In 2020, a very bright Beth Sawyer ran for assembly, and she won, along with Senator Ed Durr, who won the senator seat, and we had Nick DeSilvio and Chris Conwell that won at the county level. It was a very big win for the Republican Party of Gloucester County. So,
hmm
with that said, in 2016, when I first ran, as I was door knocking through the section of town what we consider West Gibbstown,
hmm
which is down along the sand ditch that runs to the river,
hmm
um, I would say 85% of the homes in that area, they all came to me with one question. What are we going to do about the flooding, and our sump pumps are running constantly,
mm
and of course I was the mosquitoes were another issue, and I was totally caught off guard because I didn't know there was really an issue. You don't know until you start talking to people about stuff. So
Right.
pretty much as I got into it more and more, I went back to Mayor Shively, who was my mentor at the time, and I said, Mr. Mayor, we got a real problem. And he goes, I know. He says, I'm on the state mosquito commission. It's real tough trying to get stuff done as a lone Republican in Greenwich Township, and to get things passed through, we have nobody really to represent us in the upper level, to so on and so forth. So lo and behold, fast forward 2020, Beth Sawyer wins the assembly seat, and I was at a local event with her, and I had said to her, I said, look, I got a problem in my town, and I'm looking to get some help. And I explained to her our situation with the mosquitoes, the bills, with the flooding, and that flood insurance was going up and the floodplains could possibly
Mm.
expand and our creeks are backed up and they need to be dredged, so on and so forth. So I spoke to her. She set up an appointment, and I tell you what, I went in, I brought her all my information that I had gathered over 2016 to 2020. And you're talking 4 years worth of calling the state. I went to the
Mm-hmm.
county level and I was turned down. I went to the state level and couldn't get through to nothing, EPA. So finally, I set up an appointment with a state representative from the Department of Environmental Protection. And I said, and I gave him my pitch. I said, look, here's our problem. We have this new sluice gate down there. It doesn't seem like it's working, blah, 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 so on and so forth. He says to me, well, you can't really touch the beavers if they're damming up because you're going to have to deal with the people for the environment for the animal protection rights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then environmentally, you can't dig nothing up because you might dig up some bad soot and pollute the river.
Okay.
So I kept hitting walls. So at that point, um, I went to Beth and I explained all this to her. And she says, "Well, let's do something. Let's get together and get all the information." Lo and behold, we sat down and we wrote a bill together. It took us like 6 months. She had her attorneys, and let's keep in mind that every time you write a bill in the state level, it's roughly right around $20,000 to the taxpayers.
Wow.
So, yeah, roughly. It could be less depending on the size of the bill and the extent of it. So Beth worked diligently. I can't thank her enough for what she did. I mean, we went back and forth and we hit every point that we needed. So she created this bill called the Gibbstown Mosquito Bill. And the reason why I say mosquito bill is when I spoke to the gentleman and he had said to me, look, you have a health issue too. And if anything's going to supersede the beavers, the contamination of ground, they're going to have to figure out and use the idea that the mosquitoes are just as bad because it could create a serious health issue. Because, of course, stagnant water that's not moving to the river will create mosquitoes, as we all know. So, with that theory and thought, we drafted our first bill, and it was in the name of Gibbstown. And basically, we took it and I presented it at the state level at committee through the what they call the assembly committee, and it was passed unanimously 5-0 to move on to the floor of the assembly to be voted by the body. And it went to the floor on the assembly floor. And now let's understand, if it passes on the assembly floor at that point, it's got to go to the Senate, and the Senate's got to take it to committee. And then once it goes to the Senate committee and it passes, it goes back to the Senate to vote to pass, and then returns to the assembly to go to the governor for, I hopefully I didn't confuse you or anybody out there listening, but it is a very big process.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, at our level of the state level assembly, when it came for the assembly to vote on it, you want to call it dirty politics, bad politics, good politics, whatever. We were Bill 151 on the state floor,
Okay.
and at 137, a gentleman. Now I was on the state floor along with Beth Sawyer that day. I was there from 9 o'clock to almost 9 o'clock at night.
Mm.
And at about 137, the bill 137, a gentleman came around and he was asking for bipartisan votes on a pay increase for the Senate to receive roughly $40,000 increase to their pay, and I think $20,000 to the workers that work through the Senate, people that were senators, their representatives, their
Mm.
helpers. So, of course, Beth Sawyer, being who she was, she said I heard her myself. She basically said to the gentleman, "Look, I represent two counties that are probably the poorest in the state. There's no way I'm going to sign for a pay raise for the assembly nor the Senate when people out there are hurting right now."
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, my bill at 151 never got pulled. Her bill got
Wow.
pulled off the floor. So that goes to tell you how dirty politics works. That was an all Democrat move for us. So following up on that, okay, um, there was a lot more to that bill that had to get done. Let's not make it sound like we were there and it got yanked from us, but it did. So moving forward, I even contacted the now Senator Birch Kelly, and he had said to me, he was quite frank and honest, and I've known John a very long time, and he said, it was a money issue. We had to figure out where the money was going to come from, but needless to say, we're still at the level where we're trying to figure out how we're going to fix this problem before
Hmm.
it goes on. So that's the story behind the bill. Um, was there anything else that I missed as far as what you wanted to know about that bill?
No, I think you did a great job explaining, and I love hearing about initiatives at like local levels, working trying to go through the processes and stuff because as I've kind of grown up over well, I'm only 20, so how old can I be? I turn 21 pretty soon, but um when you start to kind of understand the Republican side of things and you become more like a little bit more right wing, you kind of understand how important the local stuff is. And when you kind of space or zoom out of the focus on national politics on federal level, you start to understand that local politics in some ways is much more difficult than federal at the federal level because you actually have to go door to door talking with your neighbors, talking with the people in your town, talking with the people in your county about politics. And it's been very interesting to me how a lot of people are kind of sometimes scared of that. And they try and sidestep talking with their own community, talking with their own neighbors, talking with the people in their town, and going with the federal level or stuff like that. And I think a greater emphasis should be put on local politics, more engagement, more activity. Especially a lot of young people don't really have a lot of weight or interest or focus on local politics. All that they're always focused on what can we do on a federal level. Even some little groups care about the state level, like governors, but almost none of them, very little people in general, really care about the local politics until you get a little bit older and you have kids, and then you start really caring about who your mayor is. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, quite. That's a very good point. And I was involved deeply into what you're talking about. Now, a lot of people are under the presumption that politics works from the top down. In other words, I had a debate with a gentleman from Gibbstown and his point was, you know, when the chief, as a fireman, when the chief tells me, go into that burning building and do this, do that, and do that, you go do it.
Hmm.
But see, what we need to understand, the county doesn't really dictate to the townships what they need to do. So, in other words, to explain it better, when you get a federal grant, for example, it comes down through the federal, it doesn't come directly to your town. It gets passed through the state and to the county level.
Okay.
Then the county disperses it as it goes. Now that's what
Okay.
happened with the floodgates. So what I'm getting at is your your votes at the bottom side of the ticket actually are more detrimental to what's going on the upside of the ticket because
Hmm.
it's built from the bottom up. Your
Right.
our If you go back to the way our government was designed, and that's why it's always good for young adults and kids growing up to learn history and American government and
Hmm.
how it was designed
Civics.
because civics, perfect. You just got to we got to put civics back into the minds of the kids because they really don't know how important their vote really is.
That's right.
It dictates your future, your
That's right.
present, and your condition that you're in, presently. is
That's
so
right.
important. But we've come to the point in our life where how many times have you heard, I just don't talk politics or religion?
Hmm.
Well, okay, I can understand if you're from a different religion and you have different viewpoints.
Right.
Nobody wants to get into an argument. But my
Right.
question to these people are, why does it have to be an argument?
That's
You
a great.
have
That's a great point.
Why does it have to be an argument? Like, what do you see today? It's back and forth. Joe Biden, Trump,
Right.
Kamala Harris, and everybody's just digging dirt on everybody.
That's
But
right.
nobody's talking about the platforms that they're about, what they're really about.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I believe the media has and it's important that people like yourself that do these podcasts to keep it real anymore. How
Hmm.
important it is for you guys to keep it real.
Hmm.
Because quite frankly, I don't believe anything I see on the news today or read in the newspaper.
I'm right there with you, buddy. I'm right there with you.
And that's why it's a breath of fresh air to have the opportunity to sit and talk with you today, Mason.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can reach out to some people in the college levels, in the high school levels, and even in like sixth, seventh, and eighth grades. They should start to be conditioned
Hmm.
not so much to be a Republican or a Democrat. They should understand how politics works, and it's not a bad thing to talk about it because you know what? The more right now we're made up of a bunch of lawyers that want to be politicians, but
Right.
The average Joe, Abraham Lincoln was an average Joe. He became an attorney, but he grew up hard. You take Donald Trump, straight up businessman. He gave up a lot of money to the Democrat Party
Hmm.
because that's what he believed in, centered helping the people and business. And things change over time.
Hmm.
But our biggest sin is the uninvolvement and the fear to talk good, serious debates. Nobody wants to argue. And if you argue, what are you actually arguing about? Your point versus somebody else's point. We got
No.
to
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm
Oh no,
sorry.
I couldn't agree more. I frequently tell people because they always say, whenever I'm around other people, they're like, "Oh, watch out, Mason likes to argue." It's like I draw a very clear distinction. I say I don't like arguing with people. Oh, I like debating people because the difference between a debate and an argument is that an argument is coming from a place of vitriol and attacking, and you're and so it's telling me we have to wrap up pretty soon. But
I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. It comes from a place of, attacking and hating, but debating isn't like that. Debating is an exchanging of ideas. Debating is what we need to kind of cool down the temperature so much. Um, Civics, the state of civics in our current education right now is laughable, quite frankly. And people just sidestep local politics. The majority of them sidestep state politics, and they only focus on the presidential, the federal stuff. And it does a great disservice to the people at the very bottom who try and work to make their lives better at a local level, that they don't understand what they do, and therefore they don't, they can't show support, they can't keep them in office or vote them out if they're bad. Um, I I don't think that we should trust anyone as far as we can throw them, uh, especially when it comes to the media and such. And so, in my opinion, the best way to kind of break through that is we need to have conversations. We need to have discussions. Uh, I feel kind of a certain like ugh when I want to, talk about certain topics, but I had to remind myself that this is what we need. We need people to bring up these harsh topics, these hot button issues, so that we can talk about them and we can humanize the other side. Because when we all try and stay in our own little silos and only listen to what we like, we don't want to talk to anyone else. It's very easy to think of the other side as being evil and being, necessary to take out in any way. Talking with people is what's going to bring this country back.
I believe that we've lost the art of compromise. It's very key. And what a disservice that and there's no one to really blame but ourselves because we allowed it. When you fall asleep behind the wheel as a nation and don't speak your voice, I believe it. You can't blame the politicians that go with the ebb and flows of the in and out day. I
Hmm.
truly believe that you know, how is it that you can go to a federal granted school, state granted school rather, and with federal backing, of course, and civics is not taught.
Hmm.
That to me is a crime in itself because the very tax dollar that puts you in that school as a student for free
That's right.
is the very government that you should be learning about and why you're there. There's not many countries in the world that can allow the opportunities that we have as free thinking humans.
Hmm.
So I know we probably didn't cover half of what you wanted to because sometimes when I get going, I'm like a motorboat. So I
No problem. Don't
apologize.
worry about it.
We can do this again sometime, I hope.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely try to reach out sometime down the line, and we can continue this. In my eyes, what I think is a valuable discussion. I think that the more people, younger people, get engaged with politics at a local level, you know, people don't understand how much you could do at a local level. People don't understand that the differences that you'll feel the most in your day-to-day life happen at a local level. And that way we can ease the pressure that we put on federal and state things. If we can understand that, if the northern tip of the state want to do, this, the southern tip can do this. And we can live in the same state but have, run things differently. And, easing tensions, I think, is the most important.
Well, one thing I want to say is I want to reach out to people in Gibbstown and and you're absolutely right. The fourth Thursday in September, we will be coming back from summer break and we have our Republican Club meetings at Broad and Maple on Broad Street at 7 p.m. And anybody that's a registered Republican is more than welcome. If you're a Democrat and want to change your affiliation, we have the paperwork there. There's no pressure. And that's what we talk. We talk local politics. We talk a little county politics. We get into the state levels if we have to. And there's also some people that bring up discussion about federal and,
Hmm.
and who we're supporting and how we're supporting.
Right.
So good stuff. It's great to see somebody of your age and but your mind is way above 20. I got to tell you, I'm impressed. I'm very
Thank you.
impressed on your train of thought. And I pray that down the road that more 20-year-olds like yourself engage and not so much to look, there's a lot of kids out there today that think it's a war between Republicans,
Right.
liberals, conservatives. It's not. It
That's right.
really isn't. It's called the art of compromise. You know, we have to learn to compromise and coexist in a world of different. And and
Mhm.
and 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 that's only achieved from a young state of mind to an adulthood. And I truly believe in starting from the bottom up.
Mhm. Well, Carmen, thank you so much for your time. This is a great discussion, and if you don't mind, I'd love to have you on sometime in the future.
I'd be more than happy to. I really enjoy conversing and putting my opinion, but not only that, to hear what you have to say because I consider you to be a bright mind. I'm hoping to see you in at one of our Republican meetings to meet the people in our club.
Uh,
We're trying to get younger. We're trying to get younger, so we need young guys. So
right. I'll look forward to attending the meetings. I look forward
very
to it.
good.
All right.
I appreciate that, and we'll be talking. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right.
Yep. Have a great day.
I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you did, I'd appreciate if you hit the like button. And if you'd like to support and help the channel grow, please subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with all of my uploads. Finally, whether you agree or disagree with anything said in the video, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I look forward to engage with you guys in respectful and thoughtful discussions. With that said, I'll see you guys next video. See ya.